Season of Discovery Phase 3 is here, and I'm going to help you hit the ground running with Fire Mage. Let's start off with the stat priority. First is going to be 5% hit cap for the Sunken Temple bosses, which are 2 levels above us. However, our talents are going to take care of most of this for us. Next up is going to be fire and spell damage on a 1-to-1 ratio. Some spells actually do leverage this better than others, but nevertheless, it's a really good stat that we're going to have on a lot of our gear and is our second priority. Third being crit chance, which is pretty self-explanatory, increases our chance to crit. Next is intellect, and then spirit. If you don't know, intellect does actually increase our crit chance as well, and also increases our maximum mana. I think it's 14 mana per intellect? It might be. Something like that. You may have already got this from Phase 2, but if you haven't, I just want to draw your attention to the skill books that we can get. We've only got one as a mage, and that is Expanded Intellect. It's going to increase the duration of Arcane Intellect by 50% and decrease its mana cost by 50%. So when you're buffing your allies with Intellect, with Arcane Intellect, it is going to be a lot more efficient using this book. Now let's look at the talents. It's probably going to go without saying, but we are looking to maximize our fire damage in this build. Starting off with improved Fireball, reducing the casting time of said spell by 0.5 seconds. Next up is going to be 5 out of 5 into Ignite. Our critical strikes from all of our fire spells are actually going to cause our target to burn for 40% additional damage over 4 seconds, which is basically free damage. 2 out of 2 going into flame throwing, because we all know the ranged are terrified of melee. It increases the range of our fire spells by 6 yards. Next row down, Pyroblast, the big daddy fire spell, hurls an immense fiery boulder that causes X amount of damage and an additional amount of damage over 12 seconds. Again, over here on this same line, 2 out of 2 into Burning Soul. Give your fire spells a 70% chance to not lose casting time when you take damage, and reduces the threat caused by all of your fire spells by 30%, which is really important so that we don't pull aggro, of course. Next one down, 3 out of 3, Master of the Elements. Your fire and frost spells are actually going to refund, well, the criticals, sorry, are going to refund 30% of their base mana cost, helping our mana throughput there. 3 out of 3 into improved Scorch, very important talent here. Your Scorch spells have a 100% chance to cause your target to be vulnerable to fire damage. That's going to actually increase the damage taken from fire spells by 3% for up to 30 seconds, and it does stack up to 5 times. Another really important one is Critical Mass, increasing the crit chance of our fire spells by a huge 6%. 1 out of 1 going into Blast Wave, Wave of Flame, radiating outward from the caster, damaging all enemies caught within the blast for X amount of fire damage and dazing them. And then 5 out of 5 into Firepower, which is going to increase the damage done by fire spells by 10%. And of course, last but not least, Combustion, the big daddy XL, I guess, of the fire tree. When activated on a 3-minute cooldown, it's going to cause each of our fire spells to increase our critical strike chance with fire damage spells by 10%. This effect lasts until you have caused 3 critical strikes with fire spells. So this takes us up to level 40. What the hell are we going to do with our last 10 points? We're actually going to put them into Frost. We're going to put 3 out of 3 into Elemental Precision, reducing the chance our opponent can resist our frost and fire spells by 6%. 2 into Frost Warding, increasing the armor and resistances given by our Frost Armor and Ice Armor by 30%. In addition, gives your Frost Ward a 20% chance to reflect Frost spells while active. And then going down to the last 5, we're going to put this into Ice Shards. It increases the critical strike damage bonus of your Frost spells by 100%. To get the full benefit out of our Ice Shards, we are going to be taking the rune Frost Fire Bolt. More on that right now, because we're about to go into the runes, because we've spec'd all of our talent points. So, on the gloves then, we're going with Living Bomb. Target becomes Living Bomb, taking damage over 12 seconds. After the 12 seconds, or when it's dispelled, the target explodes, doing more damage to all enemies within 10 yards. This is really fantastic for single target and both AoE. A lot of our AoE rotation is actually kind of just like happening within our single target rotation, but more on that in a minute. On the pants, again, it depends if you're doing single target or AoE. Living Flame, which summons a spell flame, wriggling towards your enemy like a slippery snake in the grass. And this is going to do a load of spell fire damage to nearby enemies as well, in the route that it is taking to your target. Icy Veins, however, which is a pure single target, hastens your spellcasting, increasing spellcasting speed by 20%, reducing the pushback suffered by 100%, and that lasts for 20 seconds. On the chest rune, we're going for Burnout, increasing our spell crit chance with all spells by 15%. When you stack this with all of our talents that are increasing spell crit, this is huge. Non-periodic spell crits, however, do have an additional 1% mana cost. On the waist, we're going with Frostfire Bolt. This is the one I mentioned regarding needing to make use of our ice shards in the frost tree. Launches a bolt of frost fire at the enemy. Yes, it's both. Slowing their movement speed by 40% and causing an additional amount of damage over 9 seconds. It will be checked against the lower of the target's frost and fire resists and counts both as frost and fire damage, which we love. On the feet, it's very simply going to be Spell Power, increasing critical strike damage bonus of all spells by 50%. Absolutely huge. And then for the new two ones, we're going for Advanced Warding on the head, increasing the magnitude of our mana shield, frost ward and fire ward by 100%, and decreasing the mana drained by mana shield by 50% per damage done. And on the wrist, it's going to be the Bale Fire Bolt. This is going to unleash a huge, deadly, reality-distorting bolt of raw magic at our enemy, dealing damage, which is spell fire. It's actually arcane and fire with this one. Each time you cast it, the damage of your next Balefire Bolt within 30 seconds is going to be increased by 10%. So every time you cast it, damage of the next one is increased by 10%. However, your spirit is going to be decreased by 10% for 30 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. At 10 times, you die. The reason for that being because it's actually depleted 100% of all your spirit. So you only want to stack this up to 9 stacks. Whatever you do, do not stack it to 10, but you do want to stack it to 9. So that is what we're doing for the runes and the talents. Let's see how it all comes together into our big new juicy fire rotation. It's actually going to be quite simple. You can see here at the top, we're going to use our Scorch until 5 stacks of improved Scorch are up. Remember, our Scorch spells are actually going to have a 33% chance to make our target vulnerable to fire. This is going to increase the damage dealt by 3% per stack on the target, and remember, it stacks to 5 times. So we want to get all of those 5 stacks up first and foremost, so we can increase the damage we're doing to our targets. Then we're going to living bomb the hell out of them. Then we can use combustion and icy veins and things like that, all of those cooldowns. Remember that the living bomb is going to do a DOT, a damage over time, over 12 seconds. And then it's going to explode at the end, dealing damage to everyone in the area. And remember, Icy Veins is going to increase the haste of our spellcasting. So basically then, we've gotten our improved Scorch stacks up, we're ready to do improved damage to the target, we're going to then use all of our cooldowns, including any potions, etc. you may be using. And then we're pretty much just going to use our Balefire Bolt to get up those 9 stacks so that it's increasing the damage of each one again and again and again. We aren't going to have to wait for that to then fall off because of the 10th one obviously will kill us. And so then what do we do in the meantime? We use our Frostfire Bolt as a filler. And that is pretty much it. If you're wondering then what about AoE, you can use your Living Bomb, you can use your Living Flame, which will be taking instead of Icy Veins, and then apart from that, you can just use Arcane Explosion, and it really is as simple as that. And that is how you play Fire Mage in Phase 3 of Season of Discovery. Now, if you do have any more questions around Fire, anything at all, please do join the Discord. We've got a really active and helpful, friendly community to beginners and veterans alike, and it's made up of beginners and veterans alike, who will of course, help you with any questions, etc. We've got a really great community there. You can also join my Patreon down below, where you can talk to me one-on-one on there. I also update my Patreon very regularly with blog posts, a lot of behind-the-scenes content. You can get WoW spreadsheets that I've made. I have a WoW compendium, which I've built to help out especially new players as well. You can get that in my Discord, and a lot of other really useful stuff, including a Patreon-only access channel in the Discord where you can, of course, talk to me and ask any questions about whatever the hell you like as well. Thank you for watching. If you are looking for more Phase 3 videos, then you can check out my channel. And on the homepage here, you're going to see there's this current class guides shelf, and there is, as you can see, a Phase 3 playlist there with all the class guides that you will need. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Phase 3 of SoD.